Great pleasure to introduce someone I have been following for more than 20 years, pre-Twitter days. His name is Joe Pine. He's an internationally acclaimed author. Hello, Joe. Nice to see you there. Joe, Joe knows I call myself his self-appointed biggest fan in South Africa. He just believes it because he's got no choice. This is the second edition of his book. It's called The Experience Economy by Joseph Pine and James Gilmore, Competing for Customer Time, Attention and Money. His first book was out, I think, 20 years ago, and it's one of the 100 best books of all time. And it talks about ways of adding value to the economic offering. Now, I live by this book. I've got the first copy and the second copy. It's next to my desk at all times. I've made all my management team read it, whichever company I'm in. I totally subscribe to this book, and if it's the one book I punt, it's this one. Unfortunately, it's not available in South Africa, so I would suggest that we club together and put an order in. This was brought to me by a friend from America.
Okay. I'm in.
You're
Let's
in?
do it. Yeah.
Okay, and I think Alicia's waved. She's in. I know after this talk you'll all be in. So,
Yeah.
Joe, over to you. Thank you so much. I know you're coming all the way from the States. You're from the East Coast, I think. Whereabouts are you?
No, actually, I'm in Minnesota, in the very central, most northern and coldest part of the country.
So it's early for you at the moment? What time is it?
Yes, it's a little after 6 o'clock in the morning. I've been telling people,
okay.
for the last couple of weeks that I'll be speaking in South Africa today, but I didn't tell them it'd be virtual.
Oh, my word, yeah. And that's an early start for you. We just had Bernard Donahue say this was his earliest speaking engagement ever at 9 a.m. South Africans are early starters. We started our conference at 8. And I put it down to our safari background, the pre-dawn, getting up at 4 a.m. to see those animals. That's always been my theory.
That's our story.
When I've got European guests, they can never believe that we're up and about. The local food markets are sold out at 10 a.m. That's way too late. Thank you for joining us so early. I hope you've had some coffee, and we really look forward to your talk. And a personal thank you again, Bernard. We connected over Twitter and Twitter DM, and we've got you here with us today. Thank you so much.
All right, super.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joe.
I just want to know how much being my biggest fan means in terms of points. I mean, it seems like that'd be worth 7,000 points alone. But it is a pleasure to be with you and to really talk about the experience economy and what's going on, because we've gone from an agrarian economy based off commodities to an industrial economy based off goods to a service economy. And today we're in an experience economy. An economy where experiences are the predominant economic offering, where experiences are what people are looking for today. And experiences are basically when you use goods as props and services as a stage to engage, right? Keyword, engage each and every individual in an inherently personal way, and thereby create that memory, which is the hallmark of the experience. So we shifted into this experience economy. When the book first came out, in 1999, we talked about the nascent experience economy, the forthcoming experience economy. Here, we now know it's here, right? We're in an experience economy. And one of the reasons for that is because goods and services have become commoditized. And so manufacturing companies, service companies are all getting into the experience business as we shift into the experience economy. Of course, what we know now is the experience economy, right? It's this experience sector that has been hardest hit by this global pandemic. The corona crisis has shut down experiences and attractions and stores and movie theaters and everything else around the world. And I mean, it's a crying shame, but recognize that we are still experience seekers. Human beings are social beings, and we want to have experiences. It's just that what we've done over the last 4 or 5 months, we moved from the physical to the digital, we moved from out there to in there, from the public to the familial, but we're still having those experiences. And one of the things that's been very clear is whenever an experience opens up, boom, there are people there that want to go there, that want to have those experiences. So we need to get through this time to be able to recover in the experience economy, but that will happen. And we're looking forward, of course, to that day. And now's the time to prepare for it, to prepare and to really refresh our places, to redesign our offerings, to renew our capabilities. Those are the key things that we need to be doing right now. And a lot of companies are pivoting from physical to digital or doing other things to be able to meet customers where they are today. And one of my favorite actually is right here in Minnesota. Minnesota State Fair, right? The annual fair we have that would be going on right now, actually. And it's the biggest state fair in the entire country of people coming. And what they did is they did a series of things to be able to create that state fair experience as much as possible for people who want to go. So it began with their food parade, where you could drive by in your cars and be able to go and get a foot-long corn dog. I don't know if you know what corn dogs are, if they have those in South Africa, but they're these wonderful fried concoctions and all the other food that they have there, because that's a main reason that people go. Then they create a state fair party in a box. And I love this. I love the notion of experiences in a box, providing all the items, all the accoutrements that you need to be able to create a state fair experience in your own home, right? And have that likeness of that live experience. And then also they did crop art to go. One of the biggest pavilions they have at the Minnesota State Fair is this crop art exhibit. They have contests, give away prizes there. So they provide kits for people to do that in their own homes. Again, bringing a taste of the state fair out there, right, back into people's homes and with their families. But the main thing to understand about the corona crisis is that without experiences, there can be no recovery, because fundamentally goods and services are no longer enough. Goods and services are no longer enough for the economy. They employ fewer and fewer people over time. They are less and less a part of the GDP. It's the experience sector that is the growing part. It's the experience sector that's been hit the hardest. So it's the experience sector that requires recovery for the overall economic recovery in America, in South Africa, and around the world. And the thing to understand particularly as we start to come back, is to recognize that one of the factors of the experience economy is that you, who have always been in the experience business, right? It's right there in your name, African Association of Visitor Experiences and Attractions, and attractions are merely a subset of overall experiences. But you've long been in the experience business. But now what's different as we shift in the experience economy is you're now competing against the world. You're competing against the world for the time, attention, and money of individual customers. And recognize that time is limited. We can only experience things 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we have to fit sleep in there sometime. So no matter how early you get up in South Africa, you're competing for the time of customers. And if some other company captures my time and creates an experience and I'm spending time with them, what am I not doing? Is I'm not spending that time with you. In the same way, attention is increasingly scarce. In today's media-starved world, it's hard to capture attention with normal advertising. So companies are creating experiences, right? Brands are out there with experiences to capture people's attention. And if some brand does capture my attention, I'm spending my time and my attention with them. What am I not doing? Is I'm not spending that attention with you. And finally, money is fungible. If I have $1 or $1 to spend, and I spend it with some other company in some other industry in some other geographic area, what can I do with that? As I can't spend it with you. It's gone. It's consumed. And so you need to understand you're competing against the world, and therefore need to up your game and stage experiences that are even more engaging, even more remarkable, even more memorable than where they can get them elsewhere. And so let me go through each of these factors to talk about them in terms of the experience economy. I recognize, first of all, it's about time, right? It's about time we embrace the experience economy. It's about time we understand that that's the business that we're in attractions, is that we're in the experience economy, and understand that experiences are about time. That's the key thing with experiences. It's the time that visitors spend with you. And there's been an explosion of experiences since we came out with the book. And these are all from A to Z, just new ones since 1999 when we first came out with the book, that are places where people can spend their time, spend their attention, spend their money. And that's just a small part of it. And there's also explosion of digital experiences that now people can spend on their phones and their laptops with their tablets. And all of it is capturing people's time. Right? That's what they're doing. They're capturing people's time. Experiences are about time. So look at it this way. Between any one of these economic offerings, you could draw a line and list all of the economic distinctions between them. And let me just focus on on the aspect of time, is that services are about time well saved. Saving my time, be nice and easy, convenient, right? And in fact, consumers want goods and services to be commoditized, to be bought at the lowest possible price, at the greatest possible convenience. Why? So they can spend their hard-earned money and their hard-earned time on the experiences that they value. And what they value is time well spent. As an attraction, as an experience, you need to offer time well spent to your individual customers. That puts you in the experience business. So experiences are about time. And the second fact to understand is that what companies are doing is they're saying, give me your attention. Again, that's what they do with advertising. Give me your attention, give me your attention. But that's not the way to get attention today. It is through experiences. It's through staging experiences, right? That's how we gain attention. And in particular, what we do in the new 2020 re-release of the book is that we talk about the 5 key ways, the 5 key attributes you need in your experiences to gain customer attention. And that is creating experiences that are robust, cohesive, personal, dramatic, and even transformative. Right, and I'm going to go through each one of these 5 attributes of experience. And it's going to be very quick. You didn't give me a lot of time today. So fasten your seatbelts and understand that what robust experiences are about is about hitting the sweet spot in the middle of this 2x2 framework, where you can have entertainment experiences where you're passively absorbing in the sights and sounds that are presented to you. Then you shift over from passive to active is when you have educational experiences where you learn by absorbing in information and actively wrestling with that in your mind. And then you have escapist experiences. Escapist experiences where you're actively immersed in another environment, going from one place to another. And of course, attractions and all visitor experiences. The very notion of visitor is you're going from home to another place. And so it's a lot of companies think that you're in the entertainment business. Disney even calls itself an entertainment company, but it's not, right? All the theme parks it has, all the attractions are escapist experiences. And then finally, there is aesthetic. Aesthetic is where you you're passively immersed in an environment, like a art gallery or a national park, where you just want to hang out and be. Right? Entertainment is about experiences where people enjoy. Educational is to learn. Escapist is to go and to do. And aesthetic is to just be. And the best experiences, the most robust experiences, are those that hit the sweet spot in the middle, that have aspects of all 4 elements. And that's what you need to ask yourself. Where's our center of gravity? But how do we reach out and encompass elements of all 4 of these? Then you'll be a much more robust experience and therefore much more engaging and more memorable as a result. Now, a lot of people, you may know the term there of edutainment, right? That's been around for several decades about edutainment, entertainment plus education, that we'll learn better if we entertain at the same time. And that's absolutely true. And again, a lot of people in the attractions industry, they'll use that term, right? But that's not the thing to think about, is recognize that if you're in the attractions business, what you really are is your escatainment, right? Is your escapist plus entertainment. You provide entertaining elements, the brands, the characters, the environments that you create, and you do that in a way that people can actively, again, immerse in those environments. So escatainment, you notice that if you focus on that axis, you automatically cross the sweet spot. You're automatically hitting all of the realms of the experience. So just something to think about. In the book, we go through all the other different combinations here, and you might look at that as well. I think one of the key focuses is on escatainment. And if you do want more on this this model, there actually is a article written in 2015, I think it was, on an examination of the museum experience based on Pine and Gilmore's experience economy realms that specifically focuses on South African heritage museums. So there's an article there. You can specifically look at how all of this relates to attractions there in South Africa, if that's of academic interest to you. So robust experiences and now cohesive experiences. Cohesive experiences are those experiences that hang together, where everything just sort of fits and flows. And that's built around a theme, of course. You've got to theme the experience, not just a motif, like we're about pirates or we're about some other fantasy element or something. It's the organizing principle of the experience. It's a statement. It may only be 3 words, but it's a statement of this is the underlying concept that defines our experience. And every great experience needs an intentional theme. Every experience is themed. Customers will get a theme out of it. The question is, are you doing it intentionally? And so with that as a base, there's 5 design principles where first you theme the experience, and then you harmonize impressions with positive cues. Impressions are the takeaways of the experience. So what you want customers to have top of mind when they're in your experience. And then what you do is that the physical environment fills in that experience. So the positive cues, the things that are there in that environment create impressions in visitors' minds, which then fulfills the theme that you have. Now, so you want to accentuate the positive, you also want to eliminate the negative. You now need to get rid of everything that detracts from that theme, everything that doesn't fit in. Even if it's a standard part of your experience, what are the things that you can do to get rid of things to make sure you have a cohesive experience where everything is aligned with your intention? Then, of course, you need to mix in memorabilia, right? People love to take reminders of their experiences back home with them. And so that's a great way to make a lot of revenue is on the memorabilia that you sell based on the experience that they have. And it's a good measure of how well you're doing the experience is how much memorabilia they have. Of course, one of the things that's happened over the last decade or two is the rise of shared media and social media. And the idea that people want to take their own photos of places, whether it's selfies or things that they're looking at, and then share them on social media. So we have to design for that. We need to provide places. We need to provide ways to do that. And the best example of that, I think, in the entire world is, of course, the yellow frame around Table Mountain there in Cape Town. Right? I think just a beautiful way of framing the mountain and getting people to take pictures and share them on social media. So then finally, you need to engage all 5 senses because we take experiences in through our senses. And so the more you engage those senses, the greater the experience is going to be. So again, but of course, we're doing a lot of things digitally today, right? Even we have a visitor attraction, we may want to have digital elements of that. You can't always engage all 5 senses that way, but you can evoke the senses. So think about engaging or evoking the senses. These 5 principles will enable you to create a cohesive experience. You really think through everything about it. And if you ever have trouble remembering what the 5 principles are, here's a simple and easy mechanism by which to do that. So robust experiences, cohesive experiences, personal experiences. Where I actually originally discovered the progression of economic value is through my first book on mass customization, on helping people customize their goods and services. And what I realized is that when you customize a good, you automatically turn it into a service. When you customize a service, you turn it into an experience. When you design a service that's so appropriate for this particular person, exactly the service that they need at this moment in time, you can't help but make them go, wow, and turn it into a memorable event, turn it into an experience. Now, let me show you the best example, the prime example. They spent $1 billion on doing this. But but directionally, it shows you where we're going with this is what people are going to get used to. And that's what Carnival Corporation did on its cruise with its Ocean Medallion. The Ocean Medallion is an IoT device that allows them to know every single guest and where they are in the ship and who they are and what their preferences are. When you book the cruise, you upload your passport, so that your passport ready, an image of it, and then they send you this mass customized medallion. It's about the size of a large coin here, and then they start to ask you questions about your preferences. When it's time for you to get onto the cruise, you don't have to show your passport again. Your passport ready. Whenever you get close to a Carnival cruise member, they have a tablet in which your name and your picture pop up when your medallion gets close to them, so they can greet you by name and welcome you on the ship. As you go down the stateroom corridor, your medallion is being tracked, of course. And as you get to your room, they know that it's you. When you touch the door handle, completes the electric circuit, opens up the door, and then the room actually greets you by name. And then they remember your preferences. They create personal experience invitations on things that they think that you might like. so that over time, particularly over multiple cruises, they get to know you better and better and better, customizing everything around you. They can even remember that when you're on the pool deck with your kids, your favorite drink is an iced tea with no lemon. When you're in the bar with your buddies, it's a mojito. And when you're in the restaurant with your spouse, it's a glass of Shiraz, right? Understanding the context that you're in. Now, a lot of that can be done with the phone, but companies haven't yet progressed to that level. Right, there's good reasons why you don't want to carry around a phone on a cruise all the time with all the water there, and this is much more precise in doing it. But there's a ton of things that you can do on the phone as well to be able to create these personal experiences. Then you need to create dramatic experiences, right? You think about drama, right? What drama really is about is theater, right? What is the theater that we are staging? Another basic distinction here is that services are about the what and experiences are about the how. What are the functional things that you have to do? You have to take a payment. You have to straighten merchandise. You have to take a ticket. You have to greet people on a ride and all these sorts of things. But it's how you go about doing that can turn any mundane interaction into an engaging encounter. In particular, what you need to think about is how does the drama change over time, right? If you go to any theater school, any theater class, you're going to learn what's called a Freitag drama. I'm not going to go into the details again, given the time, but it basically rises up to a climax and comes back down again, right? That's what drama is. But so many companies, what they are is they're afraid of drama, right? They have very flat experiences. They don't want to get too out there. And you need that drama. If you don't have a rising action, if you don't have a high crisis, then you'll never have that climax that is the core of the experience. So you can think about the stages of your drama. Now, if 7 stages is too many to think about, you can think about a 5-stage model. How do we entice people to want to come here? So before the actual experience ever starts, we need to create experiences that entice people to come. What happens at the entering, the first thing, what's the first impression? The engaging, the core of the experience, right? All the elements have to be engaging, but that core of the experience, how do you engage people in your attraction? And then what happens at the exiting? What's the last thing that happens that gets them to remember and want to come back? And then how do you extend that experience through time so that they circle back again and are enticed to come back? So there's a 5-stage model. If that's too much to remember, although I love that particular one, then think about 3 stages. All right, simply a beginning, middle, and end. What's your story? What's your beginning? What's your middle? What's your end? That's drama. Or you could use Disney terms. This is great for attractions industry. What's the pre-show? What's the show? What's the post-show? Again, recognizing the experience doesn't begin and end in the confines of what you normally think it is. What happens before? What happens after? And then finally, if 3 is too many, think about 1-stage model of drama, and that's a signature moment. What is your signature moment? What's the one thing, whether it's a parade, whether it's a particular interaction, what's the one thing that people want to come for and what they're going to remember? And if you do that, then you'll create the drama that every great experience needs. And then finally, there's transformative experiences. Transformative experiences actually go beyond the experience because experiences have been commoditized. Been there, done that. Right? It's a commoditized experience. So customization being the antidote to commoditization. What happens when you customize an experience? What happens when you design an experience now that's so appropriate for this particular person? Exactly the experience that they need at this moment in time. Well, you can't help but turn into what we often call a life-transforming experience, an experience that changes us in some way. And that is the 5th and final economic offering in this progression of economic value. We use experiences as the raw material to guide people to change, to guide transformations. And what they're about is helping people achieve their aspirations. There's no greater economic value you can provide than to help somebody achieve his aspirations. And there are actually opportunities for that. We think about fitness centers are about transformations. Healthcare is about transformation. Coaches of all stripes are about transformation. But even in the visitor and attractions industry, we can think about transformations. How do I improve the relationship with my spouse or get to know my kids better? Those are aspirations that people have. How do I get to be a hero with my kids and what we're doing? That's a wonderful aspiration to help to try to achieve. And in fact, it's been shown that when people travel, when they go out of their normal confines, get out of the normal routine, that's when they're most open to change. That's in fact why there's a transformational travel council that's bringing together all these experiences to help people change when they travel. And I think it's something that attractions and other experiences can tap into as well. So give me your attention. This is the way to get attention. Being robust, cohesive, personal, dramatic, and even transformative. And then finally, here's my money, right? Think about money. And of course, that's the end result, right? Money should never be the purpose of any, making money should never be the purpose of any company, but it is the measure of how well you fulfill your purpose. It's a measure of how well you do, of how well you stage and engage in experiences or guide an effectual transformation. And the thing I want you to focus on is, it's a new measure that we introduced in the new 2020 book, is one that you are what you charge for. And if you're in the experience business, you need to charge for the time your customers spend with you. Again, experiences are about time. It's about time well spent. So you need to charge admission. Economically, you're only in the experience business if you charge for the time your customers spend with you, whether that's a admission fee or a membership fee or a per play fee, I'll call it, like putting the coins into a slot machine and so forth. Right? Some way of charging for the time that customers spend with you. And the measure to think about then is what we call the money value of time. We're all familiar with the time value of money, but the money value of time is the expenditure per minute that customers spend with you. And so what is that admission fee or membership fee? And you divide that by the amount of time and you get your money value of time. And ideally, I'd like to include memorabilia and F&B, food and beverage in there as well, but those aren't public numbers, can't always track that. But if you look just at the admission fee, you think about it, going to a movie, right? In the US, it'll cost around $12 to go to a movie per person. It'll last around 2 hours. That's precisely 10 cents per minute. That's a good experience. Are you getting 10 cents per minute from your customers? But think about some of the best theme parks in the world. Disneyland gets about 17 cents per minute. Disney World, about 23 cents per minute. So you're at the 20 cents per minute level, then you're a great experience, right? You're at the Disney level, getting about 20 cents per minute. But there's experiences now that go far beyond that. You think about all these Instagrammable places like the Museum of Ice Cream, they get double that at 42 cents per minute. The typical escape room can get around 46 cents per minute that people are spending. All these are US numbers, obviously. You have to do the translation. So we're now consistently spending more than double the money value of time, the MVT, than you can get at a Disney theme park, right? But of course, we can get much more than that. You probably heard of Hamilton, the most famous play that we've had in the U.S. for the past 3 or 4 years. It is so amazing and so in demand that it's $5 per minute to go to that play. Think about it, at the highest level, $5 per minute. But that's why they have to have a lottery so that people can afford it. And then you can get it for 6 cents a minute, which is the best deal in experience dumb. But again, there is more. Think about things like skydiving. People are willing to pay $200 per minute, right, for the amount of time they leave that airplane and hit the ground, hopefully landing safely. And it's just think about that, $200 per minute, orders of magnitude more than these normal experiences. I mean, that's probably a once in a lifetime thing for many. But if you're a little afraid of that or don't want to spend that much money, you can go to an iFly indoor skydiving and pay around $43 per minute. Again, 2 orders of magnitude more than escape rooms. But that's not all. This person here, I don't know if you recognize this person, he holds the record of $1,750 per minute of being the individual paid the most amount of money for an experience in recorded history. Right? His name's Dennis Tito, and he paid $20 million to go into the space station for 8 days. And that works out to $1,750 per minute. But then there's companies like Virgin Galactic that want to democratize the experience, but they're going to charge $200,000 to take you into space. But it's not for days, it's not for hours, right? It's for minutes that you're actually in space. And it works out to around $2,000 per minute, even more money than Dennis Tito paid. Right? But think about that, right? The sky's the limit. right? If you're down here at the lower level, recognize if you create a greater experience, a more engaging experience, a more remarkable experience, a more memorable experience, if you are robust and cohesive and personal and dramatic and even transformative, then you can greatly raise the level of value you create for your customers, your MVT, your money value of time, because customers have shown they're willing to pay that when they get that value in return. They're willing to give you their money. So again, you're now competing against the world. Right? Recognize you're not just competing against other attractions and other visitor experiences. You're competing against every company in the world for the time, attention, and money of individual customers. It's time to up your game, particularly as we start to slowly come out of this pandemic, as people are going to start to come back. This is your time to shine, to be able to create amazing experiences. And that's what we need to do in attractions in the experience economy. Thank you for your time this afternoon there.
Wow, Bernard, thank you so much.
Joe?
Sorry, Joe. Bernard was the previous
My
speaker.
biggest fan in South Africa.
No, Bernard was the guy who didn't want to, who got up not as early as you and still felt it was early. Thank you so much. Really, really amazing. I thought it would be quite nice to share with you the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg, South Africa does an amazing experience with its ticket. When you buy the entry, I don't know if you've ever been, you get allocated arbitrarily either a ticket that you're a black person or a white person. And you then walk through completely different gate systems for about 50 meters. And your experience is different and separate. And you get separated from your partner or your friends. And it's a small thing, but it's really strikes home. Like, I'm arbitrarily put into here, and why can't I go with you? And did you see that? No, my thing didn't have that. Very, very good example of turning a ticket into an experience. We don't have corn dogs here, but we do have Koe Sisters, Braaibroodjies, and Cook Sisters. And if you ever get here, we'll introduce you to those.
I look forward to that.
So we've got a poll to run, and then we'll move on a bit further. What are your thoughts on the session? Wow, that was amazing. I learned something new. That was amazing. It reminded me of how important the visitor experience is. And wow, where can I buy the book? Let's run the poll.
So we'll open the poll app.
Guys, remember it's in the
new.
Q&A app.
Yeah.
Delegates, it's in the Q&A app that you've got to go.
I took a lot of screenshots of your presentation, Joe. I like a lot. I love
That's good. You know, when I'm giving a live presentation, you see all these cameras. You know, last decade where people are taking shots of your slides and screenshots on here. And there's sometimes when, like, I haven't even finished a framework yet, and they're doing it. I'm like, well, like, wait a second.
Like,
there's a poll there. I just showed you, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes I have to wait. I'm seeing they're still with their cameras up. I have to wait and talk more slowly until they take the camera picture that I get.
So we've got one comment. The person said, "Can you perhaps send us the link for that article that you mentioned? That journal article?
Sure, I can. Yeah, yes. Remind me in case I forget. Yes, I can send you that article. It's on.
Yeah,
it's on researchgate.net.
Fantastic. If you send us to that, we'll make sure we upload it. Okay. I know I've already got a couple of WhatsApps on my personal phone saying I'm in for buying the book. So perhaps we'll see afterwards if AAVEA can get it together to buy in bulk and send to people. It'll cost, but we'll see. So let's have a look. Let's see what our poll is. Wow, 44%. That was amazing. Reminded me of how important the visitor experience is. 31%, I learned something new. And 25% want to buy your book, so I think we're going to have to sort that out for them. So in terms of questions, another person made a comment here and said, we are early risers. They didn't agree with my story about Safari. They said it's to miss the traffic on the N1 and the N2, which is our two major arteries into Cape Town. Joe, I wanted to ask you a question about what role does emotion play in the experience economy and transformational economy?
Well, I talked about engagement, right? Engagement is key.
Yeah.
And if you look up the dictionary definition of engagement, it'll tell you it's to create an emotional commitment. Right? And so emotions are key. It's the primary way that we engage customers, but it's not the only way, right? Emotion is not the only, because we can engage people emotionally, we engage people physically, we engage people intellectually, we can even engage people spiritually. But how you engage them is key to creating that experience. And of course, transformations are built on top of experiences. It's the set of experiences we have over time that take us through there that and so that emotional and often with transformations, it does go beyond emotion. You need to engage people intellectually, get the commitment to be able to change, engage them physically if it's a physical aspiration that they have, or spiritually if it's a spiritual aspiration.
Thank you for that. Yes. And then I know we have a lot of experiences here that don't charge an entry fee because of the stakeholders that are involved. And what I find often is that they then almost don't value their own experience.
Exactly.
And certainly they just don't do the metrics around it. They kind of, the owners themselves then devalue their own experience by not charging a fee. So if the mandate is not to charge a fee, and there are some cases like that, how does one then, tell us a little bit of your thoughts around that?
Well, don't do that is my thought. Don't not charge an admission. You have to charge an admission because you're exactly right. It devalues it. In customers' minds, they often say, well, it can't be worth that much.
It's true.
Right? Can't be worth nearly as much as something that's going to cost more than that. And so charge a fee, absolutely. Because one, it sends a signal that this is a place worth experiencing. And then it gives you the wherewithal to be able to create that experience. If you don't charge admission, then over time, I'll guarantee you, it won't be upkept. You won't keep up to date. You'll keep the level as others, and eventually it will die, right? It will die if you don't do that. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to charge everybody admission. If there are good reasons why you want to make sure that people come that can't normally afford it, there's ways to be able to do that. I can still remember a number of years ago, I was in Finland and talking to the museums and other attractions as well there. And they talked about one of the problems they have is that so few Finns go to the museums. They actually have higher level of participation from tourists that come in, but the Finns themselves don't go to museums. And what I said was, I said, oh, I bet that's because you don't charge admission. And he said, no, we don't, but why? I said, well, that's exactly it, is they don't value it because you don't charge admission. The thing to do is charge an admission fee, so your tourists are paying for it, first of all, right? Let them put their money into your coffers. They're more than willing to do that. And then secondly, then you send every man, woman, and child in the country a voucher to go to a museum for free sometime that year, but that's with that assigned value in mind, then guess what? Your participation rate would skyrocket.
Yeah, that's true. And I also find here we've got a lot of museums that charge really a negligible fee. I think it's 10 Rand or 20 Rand. And to be honest, it costs you almost as much money to manage that cash that it does to get the fee. But that's another conversation. And I think your data on why, or your conversation around why free is not always a good strategy is going to be taken up later by Colleen Dillenschneider from Impact, which will be very interesting.
We do have one question, additional question.
Great.
Sorry, I can't see the...
Oh, what's the concept?
Give us a second.
Or shout it to us, Alicia, one of the two. She can't read it either. We all need glasses. No?
Oh, here we go. How do you put value? How do you value wildlife experiences? Would it be the same for different customers?
I think they're probably referring to our national parks, our safari
our previous
parks.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I think we've.
Well, we've asked them the question.
Yes, we have. Yes. Go for it, Joe. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question is getting at, but if it is, again, about how much you should charge for it, I mean, it is a difficult question, involves supply and demand and thinking about that. But you want to compare it to other experiences they could have about how much time are they spending it, how engaging is it. And if you come up with a good list of these are experiences that are clearly better than we are, these are experiences that are clearly not as good as we are, these are experiences that are around the same level, and that at least can give you a ballpark in which to think about where to charge that particular wildlife experience, if that's what the question means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Covered
So Joe is kindly available in the Meet the Speakers corner during our tea break. Joe, you've got time to have some coffee there. By then, it'll still be early by your measures. So we thank you again. And thank you so much for joining us. I do encourage everyone to read the book again, and we'll figure out how to maybe get copies to people. Obviously, we'll have to all chip in there, but we'll figure that out.